The release of Nintendo's newest console, the Nintendo Switch, is here. Anticipation is running high as the Big N proposes to combine both the home and handheld markets into one. It's yet to be seen if Nintendo's gamble will pay off, but the company's track record for innovation has been nothing short of stellar. Now that we've had our look at the ambitious console, some are questioning why Nintendo decided not to jump on the virtual reality bandwagon. With the Oculus Rift, PlayStation VR, HTC Vive, and even the red-headed stepchild Google Cardboard, gaming analysts suggest that VR is the normal progression of the gaming culture, one that Nintendo has yet to embrace. The popularity of forerunners like Batman VR and Resident Evil 7 show how it is possible to successfully immerse a gamer into a virtual world. According to a Forbes interview with Shigeru Miyamoto on February 7, 2017, the Nintendo icon said of virtual reality, quote, "It makes me worry." Citing the issue of social interaction or lack thereof, Miyamoto went on to say that all concerns aside, they have not discounted the prospects of VR. The interview implies that Nintendo is simply biding time until the technology matures. But other unspoken factors exist that may cause Nintendo to harbor concern over a VR console. The fact is, Nintendo ventured into virtual reality already, a whole decade before Microsoft or Sony ever did, back in 1995. Unfortunately, it was an aberration in Nintendo's record.
It came from the third dimension, with its own brain, its own voice, its own legs. There's only one problem. It needs your eyes. Virtual Boy. See it now in 3D.
A strange anomaly of the intrepid company, Virtual Boy was meant to be the successor to the Game Boy handheld line. An acquired technology from RTI, Reflection Technology Incorporated, Nintendo's R&D1 team was tasked with converting the scanned linear array technology into a viable console. The team was headed by famed engineer Gunpei Yokoi, whose successes were the Game & Watch lines, the Game Boy console, and many popular Nintendo series like Kid Icarus and Metroid. Yokoi was initially very encouraged with the prospects of the technology, but it would prove to be the greatest blemish on his prestigious career, as it would be for Nintendo. The original prototype provided by RTI, called the Private Eye, offered stereoscopic head tracking, not unlike the current VR technology, meaning user movement was translated into the virtual realm. The Virtual Boy, codenamed VR32, was intended to utilize this very feature, as was the desire to make the console mobile. This was expressed in a goggle-like concept. However, both of these features were quickly dispensed in very early builds. Concerns of EMF radiation into users' brains and also the weight of the unit's parts made it impossible to reach the desired goal of a responsive mobile headset. In addition, Nintendo's legal team was staunchly against the concept from day one, citing nightmare scenarios such as children falling down stairs while playing, or suffering severe head trauma or gouging of eyes during a car crash. This resulted in the system's bipod design that anchored hunched-over gamers to its viewport, which in itself resulted in neck and back pains. With the Virtual Boy grounded, engineers were encouraged that the system could then be upgraded from the initial 32-bit chip to a more powerful 64, meaning games like Super Mario 64 could be ported to its library. However, with the development of the Nintendo 64 well underway, time and finances removed this possibility as well. Additionally, Nintendo had already invested a great deal of money into the pre-production of the Virtual Boy parts and needed to keep the MSRP down to guarantee consumer purchase. Ultimately, the Virtual Boy's design was predetermined by time and circumstance. The most notable feature of the Virtual Boy is its red wash screen. All images were displayed on a singular monochrome array, ranging from pitch black to fire engine red. This resulted in a hot mess. Red wireframes made environments unnavigable, while searing red images made it feel like staring directly into a neon sign. This design decision is considered to be one of the greatest reasons for the system's failure. Yokoi would say in a later interview, "We experimented with a color LCD screen, but the user did not see depth, they just saw double. Color graphics give people the impression that a game is high-tech, but just because a game has a beautiful display does not mean that the game is fun to play. Red uses less battery, and red is easier to recognize. That is why red is used for traffic lights." As well as a case could be made by Yokoi for the design choice, cost was the true driving factor. Further concerns from the legal department brought heightened attention to the red wash screen and possible eye strain, as well as fears of lazy eye. The company went so far as to hire an eye research doctor solely to assuage those concerns. While those results have never been publicly expressed, it has been noted that the findings did not pose a threat of eye damage. Just to play it safe, a 15-minute timer was implemented into every title that would automatically pause the game and incessantly prompt users to rest their eyes. At the end of the day, Nintendo's lawyers perhaps had a better sense of the impending doom because they continue to voice concern. The powers that be within Nintendo's halls would not be dissuaded from pressing forward. So they silenced any further legal trepidation with a barrage of extensive product warnings that deserve a Guinness entry. Carefully read this instruction booklet and the Consumer Information and Precautions booklet completely before using the Virtual Boy system. Failure to follow all instructions could result in injury and serious damage to your vision or hearing. For players 7 years and older, this product must not be used by children under the age of 7 years. Artificial stereo vision displays may not be safe for such children and may cause serious permanent damage to their vision. Any video game. A very small portion of the population have a condition which may cause television pictures, epileptic seizures, or have momentary loss of consciousness. Not had any previous seizures may nonetheless have undetected patterns that are commonly present. If you or anyone in your family we recommend that parents observe their children while playing video games. If you or your child experiences immediately consult your physician before using any video games. Eye or muscle twitching, repetitive strain and injury. Some people may experience fatigue or discomfort after playing for a long time. Regardless of how you feel, you should always take attention to express awareness every hour while playing or after. If your hands or arms listen to the signals your body is giving, stop playing and failure to follow the following instructions may cause the batteries to make popping sounds and leave your hands, wrists, or arms from an integral strain to engine your virtual accessory. Your system the battery leakage occurs thoroughly block the effect of skin and clothes. Do not put the battery back away from your eyes. If you normally wear eyeglasses on batteries, continue to wear them when the batteries are on. Have chargers to make charge. Dim and dim sound the Virtual Boy. Always like batteries and replace all used batteries. Do not mix used and batteries of batteries all fires at the same time. Do not recycle batteries outline. Not for batteries. Report! Power's offline! We want shields Perhaps today is a good day to die. Prepare for running speed! Over time, you're hearing that increase the volume until the sound is clear. Higher levels can damage your hearing. Sound levels can fool you. Do a barrel roll! The case for the Virtual Boy would become worse with its need for 6 AA batteries and a very short game time, making it a battery hog. The packed-in charging unit would be an outright necessity unless a gamer wished to dump hordes of cash into the pockets of the Energizer Bunny. The price point didn't help either, with an initial MSRP of $180, which took many by surprise since they were expecting a price point similar to the Game Boy. When adjusted for inflation, the console cost nearly as much as a brand new Nintendo Switch.
Inconceivable!
But again, Nintendo would not back down, launching a $25 million advertising campaign on television, in print, and at retail. The decision to avoid legal issues with a bevy of extensive warnings did not go unnoticed by the media, which misconstrued the warnings and reported the system as unsafe. So even if gamers wanted to buy the system, parents wouldn't let them. The console was truly doomed even before it had a chance to make it out of the gate. The Virtual Boy launched on April 21st, 1995. Initial sales were dismal at best, and the system was seen merely as a novelty. The list of launch titles was also lackluster, with Mario Tennis, Red Alarm, Tellero Boxer, and Galactic Pinball, none of which were poised to move systems. Unable to move consoles quickly enough, less than 4 months later in October of that year, Nintendo lowered the Virtual Boy price by $20. But by then it was too late, and the console was hemorrhaging money from Nintendo's coffers. The game lineup had improved slightly by December, with a total of 14 games released in the American market and 22 in Japan. This included Wario Land, Bomberman, and even a movie tie-in, Waterworld. By May of 1996, Virtual Boy had an MSRP of $99, but major retail toy stores like Toys R Us had discounted the system to $30 simply to get it off the shelves. Some stores were giving away games with the purchase of the system, or having ridiculous 2-for-1 sales, and it wasn't uncommon at that time to see the system and all of its games in the bargain bin. Less than a year after its release, in early 1996, the Virtual Boy quietly faded into obscurity. The console's story is a sad one considering its potential. What would have happened if Nintendo had used a color display? Or simply marketed the console better by not implying that it would melt your brain? It was truly a fantastic piece of technology, but so many missteps had fraught it with disaster. It is interesting to note that despite the failure of the Virtual Boy, it laid the foundation for many of the concepts utilized by the incredibly successful Nintendo 3DS. In that respect, the venture was not a complete loss, if only for the lessons learned along the way. So will Nintendo ever enter into the virtual realm again? Probably. Hey retro fans, I'm RetroMackiees, and thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to hit that like button, which gives us an opportunity to bring you more great videos. Also be sure to subscribe and follow on Twitter to keep up with news for upcoming videos. Until next time, God bless, take care, and this has been a bite of gaming.